Greetings, Dr. Lonny here with another exciting episode from Good Sense Soap Co. and 3D Soap Tech. In a prior episode, you saw how we made our soap with coffee grounds infused in the soap bar and how we suspended them, and also how we made the two-tone soap mold. So go check those out. But I'm going to take that a step further today. For Christmas, I received this really cool gift from Blackout Coffee with their Blueberry Crumble scent. And I've really enjoyed it. A really fantastic coffee. And I'll provide a link in the description below. Um, but I thought what I'd try to do is use the coffee grounds from these pods to make the soap bar. And so what I've done is I have one that's been brewed and one that has not been brewed. So I'm going to make two soap bars using the grounds from each. And I'll add a little coffee scent. And I'd like to see, does the blueberry come through into the soap to infuse the coffee scent and come out with a pretty cool soap. So it's going to be a really neat video. I'm eager to see how that turns out. And then for a future video, not in this one, but in future video, what I'd like to do maybe is see if I can come up with a logo soap for Blackout Coffee using their coffee grounds for possible collaboration with a custom logo coffee soap. So that'd be pretty cool. And Blackout Coffee, if you're listening, send me a message and I'd love to collaborate with you on that. So enjoy. We're going to do some soap making with coffee grounds and see how that turns out. Take care. And thanks for watching. Please follow, like, and subscribe.
So for our test of using both brewed and unbrewed coffee grounds from Blackout Coffee Blueberry, what we're going to do is I've taken the grounds out of the brewed pod, and you see that here. And then what I've done is I've put a little brown mica into a jar, and into that we're going to put goat milk soap and melt that down. This is my pod of unbrewed coffee grounds. That's going to go next. So we're going to do this, and then we're going to pour that into this Bath and Body soap mold that I made. You can see an earlier version on that. And we're going to go ahead and melt that down. And I'm going to add some coffee scent to that. I'll show you that here in just a bit. And then we got to cool it down to allow the coffee grinds to be suspended. I'm just going to put about a teaspoonful in there, and we'll mix it up. So I'm going to go ahead and melt it down, and we'll be right back. All right, so we've melted that goat's milk soap down with some coffee colored mica, and we're going to take a teaspoonful of grounds, put that in there. That should be all that we need, and start mixing that in really good. And then I'm going to add some coffee bean scent, which is really nice. And that's from Nature's Oil. I'll put the link for that in here. All right, now, as we saw in an earlier video, the temperature, soap temperature, is really important in keeping the coffee grounds suspended. Without that, they will all settle to the bottom. So we are looking something in the low 130s. 120s would even be better. So I'm going to go ahead and continue mixing this, and we'll be right back with the pour. All right, so we're right at about 140, but what I want to do is the B and the A, those sometimes don't fill in the way I like them to. So I'm going to go ahead and pour some in there while it's fairly warm. And we're going to make sure that everything gets filled. And sometimes you get some air pockets in there, so we're going to make sure that those get out before we pour the rest. Put a little alcohol, sorry, going to put a little alcohol in there to help with those bubbles. Just kind of give it a visual. Sorry about the light there. All right. And we're going to go ahead with the rest of this. It could even be a little cooler, but we'll go ahead and let that set up, and we'll be back in a minute with the demolding. All right, and here's how the soap turned out. You can see that some of the grounds did settle to the bottom, which is now the top. Not necessarily bad, but I think they could be more evenly dispersed, and maybe the soap needed to be a little cooler, whatever. But in terms of the scent, I'm not really picking up the blueberry scent. I could add blueberry scent to it, but the coffee grounds alone did not provide a blueberry undertone to the coffee scent that I added. So good experiment, and a good soap for sure, with the goat milk and the Blackout coffee grinds. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing, but with the unbrewed coffee grinds. And so we're going to jump into that right now. So for our next experiment, I'm just going to melt down this goat milk soap. I'm going to put in a teaspoonful of the unbrewed Blackout Blueberry coffee, and we're going to get this really hot and then just kind of let it brew in there for a bit. I'm not going to add any fragrance oil to it, and I'm not going to add any mica. I'm not going to add any mica coloration to it like we did in the last one. We're just going to let the coffee grounds do their things, and we'll use the same mold as the last one. So we'll be right back with that. All right, so the soap has melted down. And I'm just going to kind of stir it. But I actually want it a little bit hotter, and I want to let that steep for a bit before it cools down. So we're going to just continue to let that heat and steep, and then we got to let it cool down again, because we don't want those grounds dropping to the bottom of the soap, as we talked about before. So we'll be back when we're ready for the pour. All right, so we heated it up to about 200 degrees, which is way hot for soap, but we're letting that coffee ground steep in there, and it's doing its thing. But I just had a thought. What if I strain that and remove the coffee grind so that we just have a coffee brewed goat milk soap without the grounds? That's a pretty cool idea. So I think I'm going to do that, and we'll do it with and without grounds and see how that goes. Hang tight. All right, so we poured it through a strainer here, and you can see there's still some grounds in there. So, and that actually may turn out good because there'll be fewer grounds in the soap to settle. So we got to let this cool down a bit. We're still at about 170, so we're going to let that cool down a bit before we pour to make sure that those remaining grounds suspend better in the soap. And we'll be back with the results. And here's the result. It turned out great. So a couple lessons on this experiment. I like the second outcome better with filtering the heavier coffee grounds and just allowing the smaller ones to infuse with the soap. Cooling it down to about 130 after heating it up to about 200 to allow those unbrewed coffee grounds to infuse with the soap. And the coloring came out great. No added color, no added scent, and this is going to make a really nice Bath and Body bar. Thanks for joining.